welcome back. So in our last lesson, we took a look at making a door that opens when we press the E key. There's only one problem. This door will open no matter where I am inside of the level whenever I press the E key.
Open sesame.
I don't want this door to open from anywhere. I want it to only open when I'm up close to the door, when I'm inside a given location. So what do we need to do? Well, if I need to do something only when I'm in a location, we're going to use our location trigger. So let's take a look at how we're going to get that location trigger to turn on and off the ability of our blueprint to listen for key presses. Our goal here is so that the blueprint listens for key presses when we're in the trigger, and it stops listening when we're out of the trigger. Let's take a look at our door key press blueprint and see how we can change it so that the input is enabled when we're inside the trigger and disabled when we're outside the trigger. Well, one way to do that is that instead of enabling input on begin play, I'm going to break this node. We don't need this one here. I'm going to enable our input when our actor begins overlap. But do I want any actor to begin overlap? No, I want it only to be able to be our player. So once again, we have to start stacking the information that we've learned. So I want to be able to grab this other actor. I want to get its class. I'm going to check, is that class equal to, right? Is it the same as my BP third person character? If it is, then I'm going to use this to branch, right? So my action says when I begin overlap, if I'm the right class, I should branch and I should enable input. And we're going to enable input for our player controller. So once again, we have to get used to being able to read these blueprints and make sure that they're doing what we want them to do. Again, when we begin our overlap, we're going to grab the class of whatever object entered that trigger. We're going to check if it's equal to the BP third person character. If so, our branch is going to enable input. And then we're going to do a similar thing for our end overlap. We're going to get the class of the object that left. We're going to check if that is equal to our BP third person character. If it's true, we're going to branch. So here's our control. Our control starts when we overlap. It changes, it makes its mind to branch. If it's our player, then we're going to come out of the true and we're going to disable input. It's ourself. It's this key press trigger that's going to stop listening, and it's going to stop listening to our player controller 0. So since I already have a get here, I could always pull that off and use the same one. Or if it's easier for you to read, we could come off here and we could say get player controller, and we could have another one of these. So as you're making your blueprints, whether you want to reuse some of these values or you want to create a new one is really going to be about how readable it is for you. So for example, I think that this door being the same on either one is very readable to know that I'm going to open the same door as I close. But up here, I think it would also be readable to do that, but this is readable too. So make sure you think about how you're going to understand the code the next time you look at it. Excellent. So now we're only going to listen for inputs when we're overlapping the trigger. We're going to stop listening for inputs when we leave the trigger. And then when we press the E key, if we're not listening for inputs, if we're not in the trigger, it doesn't run. But if we are in the trigger, then we'll flip-flop in between calling the open door and the close door functions. So once again, save, compile, come back in here, and we'll give it a test. So here I am, far away from my door. I press E, nothing happens. I get within my trigger, and I press E, and the door opens, closes. If it opens and if I'm far away, and I press E, it doesn't close. So it only works when my player character is inside of that trigger box.